When chaos erupts, when voices rise, fists clench, and feelings overflow, most people get dragged into the storm. They respond in kind, heat for heat, emotion for emotion, and that's exactly how they lose. The savage doesn't play that game. He doesn't match energy. He neutralizes it. When others scream, he calculates. When others cry, he dissects. When they break into pieces, he becomes sharper, colder, more focused. Because emotion is weakness when you're under fire. But logic is the blade that ends it all. In this world, you don't win by caring more. You win by controlling better. People will try to trigger you. They'll come emotional, loud, dramatic. Their goal is simple: make you feel, not think. Because when you're emotional, you forget your strategy. You forget your position. You say what you didn't mean. You react instead of strike. That's where the weak live, in reaction. But the savage lives in calculation. He steps back. He zooms out. He reads the whole board before making his move. And when he does, it's surgical. It's clean. It's final. You must learn to become the surgeon in every conflict. Cold hands, precise tools, no wasted movements. You speak with facts. You move with intent. And while they burn with feelings, you burn with clarity. That's the edge. Not volume, not emotion, but the ability to say one thing that slices through all the noise like a scalpel. They won't know how to respond, because you didn't give them anything to fight against. You didn't match their energy. You stripped it bare with truth. Emotion is easy. Logic is rare. Emotion gets applause. Logic gets results. You don't show up to be loud. You show up to be effective. And effectiveness begins with mastering your emotional discipline. You don't yell. You don't shake. You don't flinch. You just speak, calm, direct, and lethal. Your tone becomes colder as their volume gets louder. And the colder you are, the more it rattles them. Because deep down, they know. They lost the second they lost control. You see this in every arena. Business, relationships, arguments, leadership. The person who breaks first loses. Not because they're wrong, but because they showed their emotional hand too soon. And when your emotions are exposed, so is your weakness. But the one who keeps a stone face, who replies with facts while absorbing fury, that's the real threat. That's the savage in the room. The one they can't rattle. The one they can't predict. They'll call it arrogance. They'll say you're heartless. They'll say you don't care. Let them. That's not your problem. Your job isn't to nurse their emotions. Your job is to win the war. You didn't come to the battlefield with tissues. You came with strategy, and strategy requires composure. You don't stab wildly like a child in rage. You make one clean cut and walk away before the blood hits the floor. This mindset isn't built in comfort. It's forged in chaos. You learn it by refusing to be dragged into emotional traps, by walking through fire without blinking, by standing in front of storms and saying, "You don't get to move me." That's where your power is. In stillness, in silence, in surgical response. And every time you hold that frame, you grow colder, smarter, more dangerous. When someone yells at you, begging for a reaction, pause, analyze. Where are they vulnerable? Where's the lie in their emotion? Where's the opening they don't see? Find it, and then hit it. Once. Clean. That's how you turn their emotion against them. You let them burn while you carve out the truth. They'll be too busy feeling to realize the damage you just did with one sentence. This isn't about being heartless. It's about being in control. Emotions are human, but the moment they start controlling you, they become a liability. In war, the soldier who panics dies first. In life, the man who reacts emotionally loses control of his future. You want to lead? You want to dominate? Then you've got to be colder than your enemies. Not colder in spirit, colder in execution. When they talk about you, insult you, try to provoke you, don't respond emotionally. Don't defend. Don't cry. Don't argue. Respond like a machine built for precision. Show them their flaws, without raising your voice. Use logic to strip them bare. One line, one fact, one truth that burns slower than fire, but cuts deeper than rage. That's the art of being surgical. It's not about the mess. It's about the accuracy. And accuracy is everything. 1,000 emotional words won't match the power of one emotionless truth. A loud argument might feel good in the moment, but it won't shake a room like one cold sentence that exposes everything. Emotion burns fast. Logic scars forever. That's the difference. That's why you train your mind to stay cold while the world heats up. Because the colder you get, the clearer you see. People aren't used to that. They're used to drama, screaming, tantrums. So when you don't give them what they expect, when you go surgical, they crumble. They'll accuse you of being soulless, of being robotic, of being disconnected. Good. Let them label it however they want. The only thing that matters is who walked away with control, and it's always the one who stayed logical. Surgical speech means no wasted words, no shaky voice, no backpedaling, just exact, targeted language that hits without flinching. And when you master this, you become untouchable, because now you're not just reacting to life, you're dissecting it, controlling it, winning it. While the rest of the world cries for justice, you'll already have taken the throne and rewritten the rules. So the next time someone goes emotional, remember, they've already lost half the battle. They're showing you their hands, their fear. You stay cold, you stay calculated, and then you respond, not to argue, not to comfort, but to end. Because in a world full of noise, the coldest line always cuts the deepest. In a world obsessed with noise, opinions, and endless commentary, silence is power. Real, raw, savage power. Because silence makes people uncomfortable. It makes them guess. It makes them insecure. And when used right, silence is a weapon far more lethal than any insult. See, anyone can scream, anyone can argue. But it takes discipline, control, and absolute confidence to stay silent while others lose their minds trying to figure out what you're thinking. That's psychological warfare. That's dominance without a single word. You walk into a room and everyone's talking. They're trying to impress, trying to flex, trying to win attention. But the real king, he's quiet, observing, listening, letting everyone else reveal their insecurities, expose their weaknesses, and show their hand. While they talk, he calculates. While they rant, he positions. And when he finally does speak, it's surgical. But most of the time he doesn't even need to, because his silence speaks louder than their entire vocabulary. You want to shake a person's soul? Say nothing when they expect a reaction. They insult you, mock you, challenge you, and you just stare. Calm, unmoved, like their words didn't even touch you. That silence, that's what breaks them, because now their imagination fills the void. Did he take that personally? Is he planning something? Did I go too far? You didn't say a thing, but now they're the ones overthinking, panicking, spiraling. That's how silence wins. Most people can't handle silence. It exposes their need for validation. They get nervous when you don't react. They start trying harder, speaking faster, getting louder, because your calm is making them feel small. That's the trick. You don't need to win the argument. You need to own the energy. And silence is the fastest way to do that. It's how you take control of the room without raising your voice, without even lifting a finger. Think about it. How many times have you sent a message and didn't get a reply? That silence eats you alive. You wonder if you offended them. You check your words. You replay the moment. That's power. And that's exactly what you reverse engineer when you go silent. You make them sit with their own thoughts, their own guilt, their own weakness. You don't need to attack. Just give them nothing. Nothing to grab. Nothing to defend against. Nothing to fight. Just silence. And in that silence, they collapse. When you argue with someone, you engage them. You validate them. You enter their game. But when you stay silent, you remove them from your world completely. You make them irrelevant. And there is nothing more insulting to a loud, insecure person than being ignored. Because now they're shouting into an empty void. They're trying to get a reaction that's never coming. and eventually they run out of gas. They burn out while you're still composed, still calm, still undefeated. You have to train yourself to be silent in moments of chaos. That's when silence becomes its deadliest. When everyone else is panicking, defending, reacting, and you're just sitting there, unbothered. You don't need to defend yourself. You don't need to explain. You've already won by not stooping to their level. That silence becomes your armor. That silence becomes your armor. That silence becomes your battlefield. And in that silence, people realize you're different. There's something terrifying about a man who doesn't flinch, who doesn't chase approval, who doesn't fill the air with justification. He becomes unpredictable, dangerous, powerful. People can't figure him out, and humans fear what they can't understand. So your silence becomes this force, this storm waiting to strike, but never revealing when or how. That's mental dominance. That's high-level psychological warfare. Let them talk. Let them write essays about you. Let them scream in group chats, subtweet, gossip, throw shade. You say nothing, not because you're scared, but because you're above the noise. Because while they're talking, you're moving. While they're ranting, you're leveling up. While they're obsessing, you're outgrowing. That's the flex. Silence doesn't mean weakness. It means strategy. You have to get comfortable with not responding, with letting people misunderstand you, with letting them assume, because the moment you feel the need to correct every narrative, you become a prisoner to opinion. And opinion is cheap. Let them talk. Let them build stories. The truth doesn't need defenders. It needs time. And when that time comes, your results will shut down everything their words tried to build. Use silence in relationships, in business, in every area of life. When someone disrespects you, don't argue. Just disappear. When someone tries to bait you into conflict, don't react. Just smile. When someone's watching your every move, waiting for a slip-up, don't post. Don't speak. Let them starve. Let them wait. Because your silence becomes a game they can't win. This is about control, not just of others, but of yourself. Silence teaches discipline. It teaches focus. It teaches how to sit with your own power without needing to flex it every second. That's when you become dangerous. When you stop reacting. When you stop explaining. When you start understanding. That mystery is magnetic. That silence pulls more attention than noise ever could. Even in victory, remain silent. Don't gloat. Don't rub it in. Let your win do the talking. Nothing kills your enemies more than seeing you shine without needing their approval. Let them stew in their own bitterness while you elevate. That's the real revenge. Not revenge at all. Just silence and unstoppable progress. And when the time comes for you to speak, do it with precision, with weight. Like someone who doesn't speak often, but when he does, people feel it. Your words hit harder when you speak less, because now they mean more. Now they matter. You've made your silence valuable. So when you finally break it, it shakes the room. That's the power of silence. It's not emptiness. It's presence. It's pressure. It's the ability to make others feel your dominance without ever having to raise your voice. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to announce your moves. You just need to stay quiet long enough for your success to scream for you. So let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them spin stories. You say nothing. Do everything. And watch how silence becomes your deadliest weapon. Because in the end, they won't be destroyed by your reply. They'll be destroyed by the echo of the words you never said. We live in a soft world, where people are more concerned with sounding polite than speaking truth, where words are wrapped in bubble wrap to avoid offense. But here's the brutal truth. Soft words never changed anything. They never earned respect. They never shut a room down. If your words don't sting, if they don't hit like a cold slap of reality, you're wasting your voice. A savage reply isn't about being rude. It's about being real. It's about dropping truth so raw, so sharp, that it slices through ego like a blade. You don't speak just to respond. You speak to end the discussion, to finish it. That's the level. Your reply isn't an invitation for debate, it's a verdict. And when you drop that line, it should shake their frame. It should leave them with nothing to say, because your truth was too accurate, too brutal, and too deep to ignore. You didn't raise your voice. You didn't curse. You just spoke with such conviction and clarity that your words scarred. A savage reply doesn't seek approval. It doesn't beg to be liked. It doesn't come from emotion. It comes from dominance, from knowing you don't need to say much when your one line hits like a punch to the soul. When you speak like that, people don't forget. Your words echo in their heads. Days later, they smile on the outside, but inside they're bleeding, thinking, overthinking, rewinding the moment you dropped the truth they weren't ready to hear. Your words should be weapons, not thrown around recklessly, but used with precision. You don't need a machine gun when one sniper round gets the job done. Same with speech. One sentence, properly timed and perfectly delivered, will destroy an entire fake persona in front of everyone. And the best part, you walk away while they're still standing there, stuck, broken, trying to recover from something they didn't even see coming. You want to speak like a savage, then you have to train your tongue to hit nerves. Not to impress, but to impact. You don't say things just for noise. You say them to disrupt, to realign, to humiliate lies and delusions that no one else has the balls to challenge. That's what makes your words matter. That's what gives you presence. Because people can feel when someone is speaking from truth and power, not insecurity. And let's be clear, this isn't about being cruel. It's about being undeniable. You can be kind and still savage. You can speak truth without hate, but you do it in a way that's unforgettable. Because a savage reply doesn't yell. It doesn't over-explain. It just exposes. And exposure hurts when you've been hiding behind masks. Most people aren't ready for that kind of impact. But that's not your problem. Weak people will say you could have said it nicer. No, you chose to say it right. And right doesn't always feel good. Right doesn't always get applause. But right is remembered. And that's what you want. Legacy over likability. Respect over comfort. You want your words to sit with people long after you've gone silent. You want them to walk away feeling something shift, something sting, something real. Think about the most savage lines you've ever heard. The ones that made everyone in the room go silent. They weren't long. They weren't loud. But they were lethal. Why? Because they cut right to the core. No filter, no fluff. Just truth, raw and unapologetic. That's the energy. That's the power. And if your words aren't capable of that, then why are you even talking? In every interaction, there's an opportunity. Someone tests you. Someone crosses a line. Someone plays smart. And most people respond with soft, forgettable nonsense. But not you. You were built for the moment. You were built to strike. And when you do, you don't hold back. You say the one thing they hoped you wouldn't. You reveal the one truth they've been avoiding. You go straight for the ego and you crush it, without ever raising your voice. Because real savages don't argue. They end arguments. They don't explain. They declare. Their words hit like steel, not air. And every sentence is soaked in dominance, clarity, and danger. You don't need to curse to sound tough. You need truth. Ice cold, ruthless, surgical truth. That's the difference. That's what makes a savage voice unforgettable. When you talk like this, people don't interrupt. They don't question. They feel. Because you've touched something deeper than logic. You've rattled something inside their mind. And even if they laugh it off, even if they pretend it didn't sting, you'll know. Their eyes give it away. The silence after your sentence gives it away. You left a scar, and it will itch forever. So next time someone disrespects you, doubts you, underestimates you, don't waste energy trying to be polite. Don't soften your message for their fragile ego. Drop the line. Deliver the truth. Speak once and walk away. Let them feel it. Let them choke on it. Because your words were never meant to be liked. They were meant to last. A savage doesn't speak to fit in. He speaks to cut through. He doesn't seek applause. He seeks results. He doesn't care if the crowd is uncomfortable. He's not performing for them. He's performing for the ones who understand the difference between volume and value, between emotion and precision, between words that fade and words that scar. That's your mission now. Stop using your voice like a flashlight. Use it like a laser. Don't spread it everywhere. Focus it. Target it. Cut with it. And when you do, don't apologize. Because if your words don't sting, don't bother speaking. Speak to be remembered. Speak to dominate. Speak to leave scars that silence every fool who thought you were just another voice in the crowd.